This your fellow servant, Tazawar, back again with another milk lesson. I want to start out by giving all honor, praises, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakodash. Double honors unto the elder apostles, the apostles and elders at Great Millstone, who teach well and who rule well, are worthy of double honors. To the brothers abroad, teaching likewise doctrine, who may not be in Great Millstone, to you I say Shalom. To the sisters and to the Akwath and the Akim who are listening and learning abroad, and also the speckled birds who are abroad. To you I say Shalom. As of recent, I've been going into really basic things concerning the scriptures. Much of that is because, I hear whether it be at my job, people I cross paths with, or whether we're out on the highways and byways, teaching and prophesying, or even members of my family, a lot of people express that they do not believe in the Bible. And then when you ask if they've ever read the scriptures, they say yes. Or even people who claim to be raised Christian, but may have left the Christian church, or may have heard about being an Israelite, and they still reserve the fact that scriptures are not true. They don't believe in the Bible, for whatever the reason, whatever the rationale. Ultimately, us men here at GMS, we know that everybody's not called. Many are called, but few are chosen. All right, but there are also plenty people who are not even called. They are just they're kindling, for lack of a better word. And if any of you brothers know how to start a fire, then you know what I mean when I say by kindling. Anyway, especially people who claim to have Bible knowledge, claim to have Bible knowledge. Many of them don't even know the basic track of the lineage that's at the forefront in the Bible, starting from Adam all the way down to Isreal. All right, and whether or not you're a Christian, or whether or not you are you profess yourself to be among Israel, you should have some working knowledge of that lineage. Simply because, if for no other reason, the scriptures state multiple times that the God of the Bible, all right, whom is Yahweh, all right, is the God of Israel. All right, he's the power of Yasharallah. All right. And that's just point blank truth. All right, many scriptures point to that. But even if you are so-called Christian and you say, oh, we spiritual Israel, which is straight up, baloney, that's not true, then you should still have an understanding of the lineage. All right? From Adam, as I've said, all the way down to the Israelites. So we're going to get into that real quick, and I'm going to try to be brief. Let's see. we're going to start in the book of Genesis, chapter 5. And let's just start at verse 1. You know, this is the book of the generations of Adam. All right. So, and I'll state this also: whether you know you Israel, whether you're a Christian, whether you agnostic and don't know what you believe in, but you still hold some, reverence for the Bible, to the scriptures, whether you're so-called, whether you're a small hat, I'll just say it that way. Those of you who know, you know what I'm talking about. Or if you are in Islam, you should know that all people come from Adam. All right, everybody walking around on the planet now, on Earth now, can point back to Adam. All right, if you are in any sort of monotheistic belief system. So this is the generations. Generations meaning genealogy of Adam. All right. In the day that God, power, created man, in the likeness of power made he him. All right. In the likeness of God made he him. All right. So let's just go to verse 3. It says, Adam lived 130 years and begat a son in his own likeness, after his own name, Seth. All right. Now, Seth actually is the third son. If you go back in Genesis a little earlier in the previous chapters, you read about Cain and Abel. Cain was the firstborn, who was also, if you can receive it, that's Esau in the spirit. That's the same spirit. All right. And then you have Abel, all right, which is the secondborn, which actually that's Jacob. All right, that's Israel, if you can receive that. But again, in this incarnation, they were born in the same order. Cain came out first, Abel came out second, just like we see with Esau and Jacob. However, we know that Cain slew Abel. All right, he killed his brother, which Cain, on this side, and this side of the flood, all right, he is still trying to kill his brother Abel, but he will not have success. But that's another lesson. So Seth was the third son that we read about in the scriptures. All right, and the name Seth means compensation. All right, because we know that Cain was cast out eastward out of the Garden of Eden, and he went into the land of Nod. All right, so but anyway, verse 3, Adam lived 130 years and begat a son in his own likeness, after his image, and called his name Seth. All right, and then he also begat other sons and daughters, as it states in verse 4. You jump down to 6, it says, Seth lived 105 years and begat Enos. All right. And then verse 9, Enos begot Canaan. All right. And Salaki for the background noise. I'm en route on the road. So I hope you all can hear this. If not, I'll do a remake. You just put in the comment section if the audio's bad. Baba Kushab. And then, so basically this whole chapter 5, I'm not going to go all the way down through every man, but at the top, you know, you have Adam, and then you have Seth. I'm just going to hit a couple familiar names that people ought to know. Verse 15, Mahalalel lived 65 years and begot Jared. All right. And then Jared, verse 18, Jared lived 62 years and begot Enoch. All right. This is the same Enoch, the famed Enoch, who did not taste of death. All right. Who was taken up in a chariot, where it states, and Enoch walked with God, or Enoch walked with power. This is the same man. All right. His father Jared begot him. All right. And you can read about that earlier in the chapter. All right. So then verse 21 talks about Enoch living 65 years and having Methuselah. All right, he begot Methuselah. All right, who I believe is the longest recorded lifespan that we have in the scriptures. Feel free to double check that if you want. But if my memory serves correctly, Methuselah, Methuselah is the longest living man in the scriptures. All right. And then we have Methuselah begat Lamech. It's verse 25. And then verse 30. All right. Lamech lived after he begat Noah 505 years. So 2 verses up in verse 28, it says Lamech lived and he begot a son, right, and his name Noah. And the same is the Noah that we know of, who survived with his family on the ark. All right. Verse 32 says Noah was 500 years old, and Noah begat Shem, Ham, and Japheth. All right. Now, everybody ought to know about the ark. All right. So you have Adam, Cain, Abel. All right. Cain slew Abel. Cain was put out, outcast. Then Adam had another son named Seth. All right. Then Seth had offspring all the way down. So this line runs you from Seth all the way to Noah. All right, chapter 5 in Genesis. Now let's jump over to chapter 10. I'm not going to go through it, but I just want to point these. It says, now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Right? And unto them were born sons after the flood. All right? So, again, Noah is the same man with his 3 sons, Noah and his wife, Noah's 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives. 8 people, all right, on the flood. On the ark, Salakia, that survived the flood. Okay, now this chapter here, chapter 10, Genesis chapter 10, we often call this the Table of Nations, all right, because it basically gives you the breakdown of the sons of Noah and basically how the world was populated after the flood. All right, so if you go and you research these names, you can see who these people are today. All right, and what region in the earth they lived in. Now, some of them you may have to do a little more digging. All right, like we know that Javan is the Greeks, and I don't want to get sidetracked or anything like that, but some of the more difficult ones to find would be like Madai or Dodamine, Kittim. You know, if you aren't really familiar with who Kittim really is, all right. Those were the original Greeks before the so-called white Grecians took it over. Anyway, that's going to require a little research, but a little digging, you should find out who they are. All right. So Genesis 10 covers all that. Like I said, it goes through all three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. All right. Now, we know that Shem was the oldest of the three children of Noah. All right. And he's also the son which the chosen seed line came down through. All right. Who became known as the sons of God. All right. That's the royal lineage. Especially if you go into the custom of inheritance and all of that type of stuff. So Shem is an important character, and the name Shem means name. All right, name, a reputation, as Elder Yashawamba often goes into. All right, but Shem is also where we get the word Semitic. All right, it should be Shemitic, or if you want to be really technical, it should be Sham. All right, with the A, because there's no E's in the actual Hebrew. All right, a Shamite. Okay, so that's really what we're saying. So through this line where all of the sons of God and chosen people came through this line, but there is separation, because everybody that came from Shem is not the chosen seed of God. All right, but even right here in Genesis 10, you get like Elam, all right, Ashur, Arphaxad, Aram, and I would encourage you to do the same and go through, research these names. All right, Eber in verse 25, that goes into Eber or Ibar being Hebrew. All right, crossing over from the past. All right, it means from the past, referencing to cross over. So that's where we actually get the term Hebrew. All right, now you can go down, like I said, do this and research the different names, but these are all Shemitic people. All right, Shemitic people. So you can't, if you are from any one of these family lines, you can't be what the world calls anti-Semitic. All right, and you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, you are indeed from the line of Shem. All right. Now, I'm gonna make it. If you go to 1 Chronicles 1, it gives you 1 and 1. It gives you a much more abridged version of the lineages. All right. It still touches on some of the on Shem's two brothers. All right, as you see in verse 5, Japheth, and verse 6. Verse 9 from Cush. All right, but if you start at 1 and you go all the way down, and you read these, the important ones, Adam, right, all the way down to verse 4, we know Noah, all right, took you through that in Genesis 5, and Noah begat Shem, Ham, and Japheth, all right, that's verse 4. All right, watch this. Go on all the way down to verse 17. All right. So you get this is a quick little clip out of Genesis 10. So if you really wanted, you could have just came here to First Chronicles. But I still, would advise you to read Genesis so you can get a little more detail in the account. All right. The sons of Shem. All right. Elam, Asher, or Ashur, Arphaxad, Aram. So all of these people are, like I said, Shemitic. All right. If we jump down to, let's go to 24. Then it says Shem, Arphaxad, Shalah. Right? So the chosen seed came through Arphaxad. All right, so this is giving you, out of all Shem's children, which sons the chosen seed line came through. If you follow Chronicles 1 all the way down, the top from Adam, but right here at verse 24, Shem, Arphaxad, Shalah, and then Eber, all right, which references Ibar, all right, or Hebrew. Then we have Peleg, all right, Reu, Serug, Nahor, Terah, all right. Terah is the father of Abraham. Now everybody ought to know who Abraham is, or so like it said here, it says Abram. The same is Abraham, all right? Because we know that Abraham left his father's house and his name was changed a little later on from Abram to Abraham, and then his wife Sarah also got a name change from Sarai, which was her original name, to Sarah, all right? But then here we go in verse 28, the sons of Abraham, all right? Because Christians love to say, we the seed of Abraham, the seed of Abraham. But guess what? Being the seed of Abraham don't mean that you are of the chosen lineage, which means that you are not entitled to the promises. Every son of Abraham is not entitled to the promises, which also means that every son of Abraham is not entitled to salvation or rulership. All right? Also known as the kingdom of heaven. Okay, verse 28, the sons of Abraham, Isaac, who is actually born second, but it says Isaac because that is the chosen son. So they put Isaac first because he is the one who inherited the blessing from Abraham. Understand that. Ishmael, all right, that's the father of the Arab nations. All right. These are their generation. Now, Ishmael was born of the Sarah's handmaid, Hagar. All right, Egyptian handmaid, Hagar. Okay. Now it says, these are their generation, the firstborn of Ishmael, and then it goes through so you can see all of these Ishmaelite sons. All right. And here's a fun fact. Look at that. Then Kedar, or Kadar, meaning black. All right, so anybody that say that the Arabs ain't dark or black or dark-skinned people, they lying. Anywho, all these sons of Ishmael right here, Ishmaelite sons are, and Ishmael actually got a blessing too. All right, he had 12 princes. All right, so a lot of his sons were blessed and given a some form of a rulership on this side, because they were princes. All right. Now, you can go and you can read a bunch of these and look up who these people are, but that's mostly the Arab nations and what they call the Nabateans, all right, nomadic tribes of what we know as the Far East. All right. Then it says, if you go down to verse 34, all right, and Abraham begat Isaac. All right, the sons of Isaac, Esau and Isreal. Okay, so notice here it logs the name change of Jacob to Israel. Okay, so Abraham begat Isaac, and then Isaac had Esau, who's the firstborn, and then Israel. And you should know that Israel, whose name was Jacob at the time, ended up receiving the blessing. If you go back and you read Genesis chapter 25, you can start at like 23 or 24 and then read on down, and you'll get the account of when Jacob and Esau were born. All right. And then a little bit later on, I believe it's like chapter 27, it talks about how Jacob got the blessing. So let's see here. You know, this even chronicles Esau's children, all right, the Edomites. All right, so you can, this chapter right here, man, gives you a really good breakdown of who is who. All right, now you can also get the lineage of the Edomites on Genesis chapter 36, goes into that. All right, now we're gonna slide over to 1 Chronicles chapter 2. And as you see at verse 1, the heading on down, these are the sons of Israel, all right? The sons of Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. You know, starting with Reuben all on down, all right? I notice they mentioned Dan, but when you get to the book of Revelation, Dan is not mentioned, okay? Because when Joseph was born, his sons Ephraim and Manasseh took the place of Dan, and that's how we ended up getting the tribes or the sons, the names in Genesis, Salakia, in the book of Revelation. All right, referencing the 144,000, where it says 12,000 out of each tribe, which is the tabernacle of David, all right, going into the kingdom of heaven, okay, and those ruling men. But anyway, Dan's not mentioned among those, is not named. So, like I say, you know, this right here, it gives you a breakdown of all the sons of Jacob. And you can follow it on down to Boaz, verse 12. Boaz, Obed, and Jesse. All right. Who we know Jesse's the grandfather of Yahushua, whom the world ignorantly calls Christ. All right. So that pretty much just gives you a whole rundown of the lineage, man. And then if you want to know, how does this apply to us, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans? How does this lineage apply to us? Well, if you go to the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28, all right, let's get it real quick. Book of Deuteronomy chapter 28. This is after we came out of Egypt. All right, following Moses and Aaron led the way out of Egypt. You start with the blessings at verse 1 through 14. But then when you start at 15, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, thy power, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Now, if you read from 16 on down, all you really have to do is ask yourself, who do these curses apply to? All right. Now, there's some controversy on, some people don't have the proper understanding of, verse 68. All right, you Christians. But even if you take that out, all right, which that's absolutely talking about us, all right, Latinos, Native Americans, and Negroes, all right. But even if you don't look at verse 68, what other group of people fit these curses? All right, say from 16 to matter of fact, if you just start at 16 and you go down and read about 5 or 6 of them, or 10 of them, before you get all the way to anywhere near verse 60 something, you're going to come to the conclusion, or you should come to the conclusion, that we are the people. Because these curses only fit a select group. All right? And that's you Negroes, Native Americans, West Indians, Haitians, and Hispanics, man, so-called Hispanic, you Latinos. All right? And with that, I would petition you to do a little research. And if you can't come to the conclusion that after all of this, then, we don't have nothing to talk about. All right? But for those who are genuinely interested in learning and who don't have a hard time putting these pieces together, First and Second Chronicles gives you a beautiful, quick little hit of the lineage, all right? And not just of Israel. It chronicles the lineage of some of the heathen too, which are basically our closest kinsmen, I'll say it that way. All right, which would be obviously Esau. All right, and then next closest after him would be the Ishmaelites. All right, so Edomites and Ishmaelites are also, their nation is their lineage is broken down in Chronicles as well. All right, so with that, I want to give all honor, praise, and glory unto Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. All right, and a sincere shalom to all you brethren out there.